Boy, what a weekend. The Women's March, literally all over the planet. Biggest march in the history of the world, apparently. Even beat the international opposition to George W. Bush's war in Iraq back in 2003, which I think might have been the prior biggest one. So anyhow, a lot going on. President King Donald, shall we say, he's replacing everything with gold, has, including the drapes in the White House, held a press conference this morning, and he said, you know, I'm going to start slapping tariffs on the goods of companies that manufacture overseas. I'm going to start doing that. Donald Trump has also said that he is going to protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, unlike the Republicans. In fact, here's a clip of his saying that.
We got Social Security that's going to be destroyed if somebody like me doesn't bring money into the country. All these other people want to cut the hell out of it. I'm not going to cut it at all. I'm going to bring money in, and we're going to save it. Every Republican wants to do a big number on Social Security. They want to do it on Medicare. They want to do it on Medicaid. And we can't do that. And it's not fair to the people that have been paying in for years, and now all of a sudden they want to be cut. But we're not going to cut your Social Security.
So anyway, I've got like a half hour of that. On the line with us, David Horowitz, the founder and CEO of the David Horowitz Freedom Center. His new book, Big Agenda, President Trump's Plan to Save America. HorowitzFreedomCenter.org is David's website, and you can Skype him at Horowitz39. David, welcome back to the program. It's been a while.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I missed our back and forths.
Indeed. That's a generous characterization. So, you know, there are some, in fact, I wrote a book back in 2010 called Rebooting the American Dream, and the introduction in the first chapter about trade. And I said that in that book, and I've been saying it on this program since we started the show back in 2003, that the first party or the first person who comes out against this neoliberal free trade agenda that was put together by George Herbert Walker Bush and Bill Clinton back in the late 80s and early 90s, and embraced by both of them and by both parties, frankly, all the way through, although it's principally a Republican effort. You know, every single trade deal has been voted through the House and the Senate by a majority of Republicans and opposed by a majority of Democrats. And, you know, similarly, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So how do we help? How do I, as a guy who agrees with Donald Trump on these issues, that the Republicans should not be attacking Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, and that we actually should have an America First trade policy? And I realize the history of that phrase, but, you know, I think most people who are old enough to remember it are dead. We can perhaps reinvent it. How can we help?
Well, I think the first thing you can do is to quiet down, you know, the war. How about a truce? The normal honeymoon for an incoming president is 7 months, and actually it was longer than that. This is according to Gallup, but recently it's been 7 months. I think Obama probably got longer.
I think Trump got maybe 75 seconds.
Trump didn't get 7 seconds.
Yeah.
The left has declared war on him. And I understand that they're in a state of shock because of the election and the unlikely candidacy, but no greater shock than the Bush family.
Well, the entire Republican Party is in a state of shock. I mean, the free trade has been a cornerstone of Republican ideology. It was, you know, Nixon to China. Reagan really started pushing this stuff seriously. Hey, let's do away with tariffs. Let's have an international trade system. There were books written by several, you know, famous neoconservatives. You're familiar with this, you know, The End of History and the Last Man by Hayakawa, I think it was, et cetera, suggesting that, you know, the theory that no two countries that have McDonald's have ever gone to war with each other. I mean, you know, peace through trade, right? This has been a fundamental Republican concept. How is Donald Trump going to succeed against his own party?
Well, he will, because he's already bringing jobs back. It's just the leadership, just his threats. If you don't, invest in America, or if you send them overseas, I'm going to tax you. Now, all these companies, I don't know that when GM says it's going to put $1 billion into the American economy, whether that's done because it's a good economic investment, or it's done because it's good public relations.
Well, that GM thing that Trump took credit for a week ago was actually negotiated a year and a half ago with the UAW.
Oh, well, whatever. I mean, every day you're getting news of these companies saying Ford, whatever, that they want to produce in the United States.
Right.
It's good PR for them.
Yeah, but I think you're right. This is Trump is taking this as a PR strategy, and these companies are taking it as a PR strategy. But how does that replace policy?
Well, it's going to be the art of the deal, isn't it? He's not going to.
But that's no way to run a country.
Oh, sure it is. He's going to negotiate deals. The first
so he's going to have to negotiate the first deal with the Republicans. I mean, if he wants to renegotiate NAFTA was passed by Congress.
Republicans are in a state of shock too, and he has already affected them in big ways. So I think he will bring them along. His first deal will be with Great Britain. They're talking about some kind of a free trade with Britain, Canada, Australia, something like that. Here's another thing that you're going to support, and that is his new deal for Black America. And I actually had something to do with his proposal for a $130 billion scholarship program for inner city kids. He's very serious about this. It's a big threat to the Democratic Party because that's their political base. And it's atrocious that they've been able to run the inner cities for 50 to 100 years, monopoly control.
Those disasters like San Francisco, you mean?
The disasters like
Seattle, like Portland,
Philadelphia, St. Louis,
like Los Angeles, like Denver. These are all cities run by Democrats.
Yeah, Los Angeles is a disaster.
Really?
Yeah, I'm talking about the inner cities where the kids, 40% of the kids never graduate from public schools that are run for the teacher unions. You can get behind this. Steve Harvey's going to get behind it. You'll get behind it.
Yeah, I'm not going to get behind school privatization, but that's and if he wants to put money into the inner cities, I'm all in favor of that. The question is, where's that money going to come from?
Well, you have to.
But back to the question of how is he going to protect? Now, I'm reading dueling stories here, David. On the one hand, there's half a dozen places. Politico is the most recent one where they're talking about, Paul Ryan has already put together a budget that is going to reduce Social Security by about 8% over the next decade, and is going to cut Medicare and Medicaid by 43 and 45 or 47% respectively over the next decade. The latter by block granting. This is the complete opposite of what King Donald has campaigned on.
Exactly. That's why it's important for you. You ask what you can do is to just calm people down. There's so much hysteria on the left about Trump because Trump will go to war with Ryan and he will win the war, but he'll need support. I mean, this is the thing that's so
He's going to be going to war with his own vice president, isn't he? I mean, Pence was a giant supporter of NAFTA. Pence was one of the biggest supporters of TPP.
I know Mike. I don't think he's going to do that. I think that Mike is a Trumpian now. You can't underestimate the influence that Trump is having on his own party. But he will, if Ryan does that, Trump will go to war with him.
So what happens to so-called conservative principles?
Think clearly, not with this hysteria, not that Trump is Hitler or Mussolini and a racist and all this crap that they're throwing
I've said none of those things so far. I'm asking you, how is he going to successfully take on his own party?
Well, he's the president.
Okay, I mean the Democrats are going to be totally down with this. It's Bernie Sanders has already said, on trade. In fact, he issued a press release this morning saying, it's great. He took TPP off the table and he wants to blow up NAFTA. I'm there for him. The Democrats are going to work with him. I'm just wondering, how is he going to deal with the fact that his Republican Party has already put forward proposed legislation that is the exact opposite of what he's saying?
Actually, it's the first real working day. It's the first Monday after the inauguration.
Right.
You got to give him a chance. Trump is going to do a lot of things.
So you think he's going to keep these campaign promises? He's not going to touch Social Security. He's not going to let Paul Ryan cut Medicare. He's not going to let them block grant Medicaid. You think he's going to stand up largely working Americans, most people who are taking advantage of at least those two latter programs. Go ahead.
That's how he got elected.
I know it's how he got elected. It's why I predicted he would get elected.
Pretty damn exciting, don't you think, to have somebody who gets elected, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican?
I'm all in favor of elections, and I'm all in favor of changing our trade policies, and I'm all in favor of protecting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I just
he said that during the campaign. He said it during the primaries. He's obviously thought about it, and he's right. If the GNP grows at 4%, there'll be the money to do it.
Well, it hasn't done that since the first 3 years after World War II. I mean, we've averaged 3% per decade.
In fact, it's 3%. What's it now? 1?
Probably 1.5.
1% of the economy is a lot of money.
But you still have all these Republicans who want to do more austerity. They want to cut more programs. They want to cut back on financial stimulus. Oh my God, we can't invest money in infrastructure. You're going to have to raise taxes on billionaires to do that. I just don't see how it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Well, your confidence, David, inspires me. David Horowitz, his book, Big Agenda, President Trump's Plan to Save America. You can read it at davidhorowitz.com. HorowitzFreedomCenter.org. And you can tweet him at Horowitz39. David, we'll have to continue this conversation, perhaps in a more contentious vein on other issues a little farther down the road. David Horowitz, thanks for being with us.
Okay, thanks for having me, Tom.